here's the definitive truth on crop circles.
Right.
But they're leaving out cases that don't fit their argument. People don't like loose ends anymore.
I think the whole point of having the loose ends is to exercise your mind. Correct?
We're not supposed to have every answer to everything.
Right.
Because if you do, you stop asking questions. If the answer can be readily provided to you, then that's not really learning. Learning isn't finding the answer. Learning is finding the path to the answer.
And the other thing is you also should question the answers that we already have.
Mm-hmm.
That's a thing that, good example of this. I'll say this word and people, there's nothing to this. We already know the answer to this. Crop circles.
Right.
Okay. First thing that comes to me, that was found to be a hoax. These two guys, Doug and Dave, no.
Some of them.
But yeah. And, some $20 bills are counterfeit too. Doesn't mean every $20 bill is a counterfeit. Right.
One of the things that I've thought about too is if we did just get everything handed to us, if we just did get every answer, you lose not only the critical thinking that you learn by asking the questions, but you lose the journey of finding that answer.
Yeah.
Like I was never somebody that when I was in school and I'm learning how to do something, I didn't really get all that excited when the teacher would explain to me what the answer was and why. I got excited when I figured out what it was when I didn't think that I could. And that's what I think paranormal research needs to be. It needs to be people finding the answer for themselves in the way that makes sense to them for their own growth and for their own development. And there's too much of a reliance on just taking what everybody else says and using that as gospel. I don't want to make this political, but if you look at the fact that, okay, you know how much I hate the phrase fake news because I think it's being improperly used, and I think that it's being used as a deflection technique, and it's just become commonplace so that if you don't agree with something or you don't want to believe something, you can just dismiss it as fake news. But I will say this, it's teaching people, the smart ones at least, the ones who are willing to say, well, not everything can be fake, so let me look into this more myself. It's teaching people to be better critical thinkers. And
I would agree with that, yeah.
What's funny is, you hear people argue with, especially people from the right saying, you can't trust the mainstream media. The mainstream media lies. It's all being made up. And first of all,
that isn't completely correct. All media lies.
Well,
some of it intentionally, some of it, through error.
I don't think so. I think there's still quite a bit of journalism that's pure. The problem is they're watching CNN at 8:00 at night and seeing a talk show host talking head and assuming that is news. Right. And that's not news. They're talking to the people who are doing the reporting and giving their own opinions.
Right.
But anyway, I don't want to digress on that. But I remember being in 6th, 7th, 8th grade and studying current events, and they would make us take the newspaper and find a story that interests us and cut the story out of the newspaper and read it and write down other questions that we would ask about it and write down what we thought might be wrong about it and all that stuff and learn how to critically read what was being reported. Like the dirty secret of most journalism these days is, everybody's saying, well, it's fake news. It's fake news. This outlet's reporting fake news. This outlet's reporting fake news is the fact that everybody just is regurgitating what everybody else is reporting. So it's not like every newspaper is against Donald Trump, just as an example. It's that one news story might seem like it's being against Donald Trump, and it's being run in multiple newspapers. People aren't even bothering to look at seeing the byline and seeing if it's Associated Press or if it's unique to that paper. So that's part of the issue. But, my point with all of this is that same critical thinking that we were supposed to be using in reading the newspapers, and to realize that news might not be fake. It may be slanted, but it's not fake. There's still some kernel of truth to what they're telling you. They might just be putting a spin on the information that they're giving you. And it's the same thing with the paranormal.
Or selectively editing something. Yeah.
It's and especially selective editing when it comes to the paranormal, because you will get a book that somebody will write to tell you, here's the definitive truth on crop circles.
Right.
But they're leaving out cases that don't fit their argument. Now, it doesn't mean that they don't know about them. They probably do and chose not to add them to the book because it doesn't matter. It's like somebody who decides to write a book about the Fox sisters and ends it with the Fox sisters, with, I think it was Maggie saying that, we made it all up. We were perpetrators of a great hoax because we wanted the money and we made it all up. And they end the book with that and say that's proof that spiritualism and mediumship is not real. But what they're not following up on is the fact that she later recanted that and said that she made that statement under duress. So you're crafting the story to fit your opinion or to fit the agenda that you have.
Right.
When it only takes a Wikipedia search to know that there's more to the story.